Hello, Helen here. Welcome to another card in my Christmas 2019 series. Now, a warning before I get started, I am going to be using some AliExpress dies here, so if you get upset at people using them, then this isn't going to be the video for you, so it might pay to stop watching this one. So the sort of AliExpress dies that I've bought in the past and I'm going to use today is some stitch frames, some aperture type dies. I've got this bow die, but I don't end up using it, and I'm just going to be making a sort of frame with layers of dies on top of each other, just to make a bit of a feature in the centre of the card. I'm also going to be using a Sue Wilson poinsettia die, just the big and small outline die out of that collection. It's the Poinsettia Editions collection. This card's going to be a little bit different than all the rest of the cards in the series. This is going to have some three-dimensional glittery poinsettias on it, and the frame's going to be made up of lots of die cutouts that are going to be layered on top of each other to give dimension. So I'm going to start off by cutting out a square that's going to be the same size as my card base, which is 14.5 centimetres by 14.5 centimetres. So I'll cut that out in the same card. You'll see I do a bit of a boo-boo here. I ended up wanting to cut out a scalloped inside frame to go on my square stitch rectangle, but I ended up cutting the whole piece out because I hadn't noticed that the frame that I was using cuts the outside as well as the inside. So I started again and did another stitch square to go on the card base, and I'll just have the frame sitting by itself on another layer on top of that. So boo-boo rectified. I'm now I've cut a piece of cardboard out, just very slightly smaller than my frame that's got the scalloped centre to it, and I'm going to cut a dotted square frame out on that, just within the card, so it just cuts the circles out, and I'm going to have that so that it's going to be recessed slightly behind the scalloped inside border. You'll see what I mean in a minute. At the same time, I'm going to cut out a circle scalloped inside. Now this die really does only cut the centre part, not the outside part, so I didn't make the same boo-boo again. So I'll cut both of those out. The scallop circle die didn't cut right the way through in one little spot, so I just remove the die and cut it with a craft knife just to release the part in the centre. I can then pop out all the dots around the border that I've just cut. It does make a really lovely little feature, those dotted square. So that's how the layers are going to go. Now I'm going to put some dimension between some of them, so I'll put some trim down Scotch foam tape around the frame that's got the square scalloped inner. Sorry, for some of that I'm out of the camera frame. Sorry about that. Then I'll turn that over and put Scotch foam tape over all around the back of that one, making sure that I leave the area where it's got all the dotted frame free of the foam tape, so just on both sides of that and around the scallop circle. Before I stick any of my frames down, I'm going to get the stamping done. Now this is going to go on this stitch square that's going to sit on the very bottom of all these frames, but I want it to be seen through the scallop circle of the top frames, so I'm going to just lay them all into the MISTI and put the stamp. I'm using this Kaisercraft mistletoe stamp that I use a lot. I'm going to use that in the centre. So I'll put the stamp into the MISTI in the right position, and then close the lid and pick up the stamp, and then I can remove all the framing and just leave the stitched square left in there, which is what I'm going to stamp on. And I'm going to stamp it with Ranger Silver embossing powder, so with clear sticky ink, and then I'll heat set it. The sentiment buckled really badly, so I obviously didn't have my heat gun hot enough when I first started heat setting it. So what I do is stick it under my mats and try and press it, but what I should have really done is run it through my die cutting machine, and it would have flattened a bit better. So it flattened a little bit, but not really enough, and you can see a little bit of warping, unfortunately. I'm also going to put some craft foam on the back of the stitched square that's going to go on the card base. This card is going to have quite a bit of dimension, so it's, as you can probably see, it's not going to be one that's going to be very postable, so more a really pretty card for giving with a gift. So that's the card with all the framing ready to go. So now I'm just going to make the flowers and leaves ready to pretty it up. So I've cut out some poinsettia, the larger size and the smaller size, with white glitter card. It's a very lightweight card or heavy paper. And I'm actually going to colour this, so I don't know whether you realise, but you can colour some of the glitter papers. So I'm using this Catherine Pooler ink and a little sponge dauber, and I'm going to just do the very centre of the each of the poinsettia cutouts with the pink, and then I'll go around and bend the petals just with my thumbnail and two fingers, just up a little bit, just to give them a little bit of dimension. Now I'm just going to glue the two layers together. I'm using this Aleene's tacky glue, which is a really thick glue, and that's what I prefer to use for sticking flowers together, because they don't move around too much and it sticks really quickly. So I'll stick the two layers together, and then I'll put another blob on the top, and I'm going to use these white quite sparkly beads that I've got in my stash, and I'll just put a cluster of those into the centre of each of the poinsettias. You could use any coloured beads, gold, silver, anything that you'd like. So while that dries for a second, I've got some smaller ones of the same that I've just made of the poinsettias with the pink in the centre. Also made 2 all silver ones, which I'm going to have underneath the pink ones. I've also cut out some holly die cuts with either white and a really pale green. Now these are a really old die set that I've had. I think they're Marion Creatables dies from years and years ago, so I don't know whether they're even available now, but just use any leaf die, or I don't know whether there's other holly ones available. I'm just using something out of my stash instead of going and buying more, and I'm going to bend those just a little bit each leaf, just to give a little bit of dimension as well. Now I'm laying the leaves on the corner of the card how I think I'm going to want them. They're going to be the first thing to go down, and then the flowers are all going to go on the top. So I'm just going to do a white sprig of the holly on the outermost point, and then the green on top of that, and then I'll do a white one and a green one in the corner, and then I'll start laying my flowers on. So that's the arrangement I pretty much want. So now I'll just take it apart and start gluing the leaves down first and then the flowers on top. I put quite a big blob of the glue behind each of the flowers just so that they sit over the leaves with the dimension that I've already got and stay in place. And once I've done that, that's pretty much the card finished. I was intending to make a bow with the bow die that I showed at the beginning, but I think the flowers fill that corner quite nicely and I don't think it's needed, so I'm just going to leave that off. So that's the last card in my Christmas card series for 2019. I hope you enjoyed all the cards in the series, and I hope that the series was early enough for everybody. I asked last year whether you wanted me to do it earlier than I usually do, because I usually do it November, December, so this time I've done it mostly October and a bit into November, so that you've got plenty of time to make your cards. I'm going to take a break now and be back in the new year, so I'll see you all in 2020, and I hope you all have a very good Christmas and a safe and happy new year, and we'll see you then. Bye for now.